U.S. President Donald Trump hosts the Japanese Prime Minister at his Florida retreat to discuss trade and the nuclear issue on the Korean Peninsula. And international inspectors arrive in Douma, Syria, to investigate a suspected chemical attack that prompted U.S.-led airstrikes. Hello, I'm Anand Naidu, and this is The Heat. The U.S. President welcomed Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to his Florida estate on Tuesday afternoon. The two leaders are expected to discuss a variety of topics, including trade and Donald Trump's decision to meet with Kim Jong-un of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. We begin our coverage with CGTN's Roee Ruttenberg. He's in West Palm Beach, Florida. And Roee, this is, of course, not the first time these two leaders are meeting, but for this meeting, what's on the agenda?
That's right, and the White House says that Trump has met with Shinzo Abe and spoken to him more than he has with any other leader. Remember, Shinzo Abe, the first foreign leader to visit Trump back in 2016, shortly after he won the election. Now, there is a very full agenda here, topping that discussion, of course, the DPRK. Shinzo Abe, like many other people around the world, taken by surprise when Donald Trump announced that he was accepting an invitation to meet with the DPRK leader Kim Jong-un. We understand that the Japanese Prime Minister sought this meeting in Florida immediately after that announcement, wanting to make sure that Japan's issues are raised and addressed at those discussions, and a lot has happened, of course, since then. Kim Jong-un visiting China. We understand that the North and South leaders will also be meeting as well in the coming weeks. So a lot of diplomatic movement, and Shinzo Abe wanted to make sure that he has a seat at the table or is involved in any of those discussions. That was the pressure coming from Tokyo. But here in Florida, we've been hearing this unified message coming from the two leaders. Let's have a listen to some of their opening remarks.
I would like to underscore the importance of achieving complete, verifiable and irreversible denuclearization, as well as the abandonment of missile programs by the DPRK.
Japan and ourselves are locked, and we are very unified on the subject of North Korea. We will probably be, depending on the various meetings and conversations, we'll be having meetings with Kim Jong-un very soon.
Now, make no mistake, the Japanese leader is concerned that the U.S. and its discussions with the DPRK may focus on intercontinental ballistic missiles, the type that are possibly a threat to the United States, but may in exchange overlook the short and medium range arsenal that's pointed directly at Japan. That, of course, a big concern for the Japanese public. We should also note that Donald Trump praised the role of Xi Jinping and what he said was suggested was cracking down at the border with the DPRK, saying alongside the Japanese leader that they'd like to see more of that in the near future. Anand?
Roee, you point out that Shinzo Abe sought this meeting. What's in it for him? What does he want out of this meeting?
Well, this is a very important meeting for him. First of all, he's up for re-election in September, and he wants to stay relevant, not just at home, but on the international stage. His popularity, his support is plummeting in Japan thanks to a domestic scandal there. His approval rating now below 30%. Donald Trump, of course, having his own problems here domestically. The DPRK discussion will probably be the easy part of this meeting. Both sides, I believe, are hawkish leaders, believing in a firm stance, a maximum pressure campaign, as it's called, towards the DPRK. But on trade, they're very far apart. Shinzo Abe has invested a lot of political capital into backing the multinational TPP. It's supposed to be 12 members. It's now 11. The U.S. dropped out. Donald Trump withdrew 3 days after he became president, withdrew from those negotiations. It's likely that he's going to try to push Japan towards bilateral free trade talks. That's something Shinzo Abe has so far resisted. Japan, of course, has a significant surplus over the U.S., but many people were surprised that Japan so far has not been exempt from these steel and aluminum tariffs that Donald Trump introduced. And the way that's perceived back home is that, Shinzo Abe might not have the type of clout and friendship and influence with Donald Trump that he seems to be suggesting that he has. Anand?
Thanks, Roee. That's CGTN's Roee Ruttenberg reporting from West Palm Beach in Florida.